Hey, let's talk a little bit about Pulsar, Mattel's man of adventure. I like to think of Pulsar as the man of tomorrow. Pulsar was produced in 1976 and he was, I think, distributed and marketed and sold in 1977. Mattel was struggling at this point to keep up with the sales of Kenner's very popular line at the time, the $6 Million Man. Now, the Steve Austin figure was a large scale figure coming in at about 13 inches. It had many special abilities. You know, he had this hole in his head that you looked through his eye. He had a bionic arm and a bionic leg, and he had the ability to like ratchet lift up this engine block that he came with. This was a really popular toy, and I had this toy when I was a kid when it came out, but not Pulsar. I did not have a Pulsar. I do remember the Pulsar commercials, and I do remember wanting a Pulsar, but I never even saw one in person as a kid. And I didn't see one in person until recently. And now we're sitting here today, we're looking at three Pulsars. Yeah, at one point, once I bought my first Pulsar, I considered just buying nothing but Pulsars from that point forward. No more variations of toy lines collecting, just Pulsar after Pulsar after Pulsar. I'm just joking. But two Pulsars that you're looking at here in front of you are mine. The one on the far left and the one on the far right. And the one in the middle is a gift for my son that I'll be presenting to him either for his birthday this year or around Christmas time. Uh, Now, Pulsar was produced in, as I said, 76 and 77, but there are two versions that are slightly different. Now, looking as we are now at these figures, the figure in the middle and the figure on the right were both produced in the United States. Now, the figure on the left was produced in Hong Kong at the Mattel factory there. Now, there are noticeable differences in the figures. You just looking at them right now as we are, you can see that the figure on the far left definitely has larger and darker arched eyebrows. I also believe that the Hong Kong Pulsar was molded in a little bit darker plastic because I think his skin color is a little darker than the American version. Uh, so, other than that, I don't really know if there's, any real differences between the two figures, with the exception of we're looking at figures that are standing just about equally flat on this table, and this one on the far left looks bigger, doesn't he? So this is a big figure. Let me point that out first, that this guy stands 14 inches tall. Now, I'm pretty sure that when Mattel decided to design this figure, they, had in mind that they were going to be trying to compete with Kenner's $6 Million Man. The problem is that the figure wasn't distributed in time. So when this figure came out, people had already bought their $6 Million Man figures, and I guess they weren't that interested in Pulsar because he didn't sell well, and the line ended a couple years later. There was only Pulsar, there's a villain figure named Hypnos, and then there's a playset for Pulsar. It's like a medical facility. So this is what Pulsar looks like with this Velcro shirt off. Now this is one of the major, I guess, things that Pulsar would do is that you push this button on his back and his lungs and his heart pump, and it moves that blood that's down in those veins. And this this figure is from 1976, and I have no clue why it's in such great condition and why that blood that's in there has not dried up and congealed and the rubber on the inside hasn't cracked. I don't really know why. The other two Pulsars that are on the screen, they also have the action, but this one in the middle that I bought for my son definitely has more blood that's intact, and it definitely moves better. But there are other things about the figure. Now, also, Pulsar's head opens up, and inside you can see that's where his cybernetic head is, and this area right here, that's where the mission disc goes. Now, the mission disc that came with this figure, the figure came with, I think, 2. Those are very difficult to find. Like, there's even a way, there's a program from a certain channel here on YouTube that I think it's Toy Polloi that has they created a file that you can download where you can print out the exact image that was on these little plastic discs that fit in his head. So the reason why I like to think of Pulsar as the man of tomorrow is because here we are looking at Pulsar, and it feels to me like it's easier to find a Pulsar figure in good condition than it is to find a $6 million man figure, or definitely it's easier to find Pulsar than it is to find the bionic Bigfoot. Those figures are much more expensive than Pulsar. You can typically find a Pulsar for fairly inexpensive, in conditions similar to these guys you're looking at right here, less than 50 bucks. Sometimes you can find amazing deals, and you can find one of these guys for 25 or 30 bucks. Let's talk a little bit about Pulsar's appearance. So Pulsar appears as this oversized middle-aged man, and to me, he looks to me like a big buff Lee Marvin. And then I've also heard other people say that from a distance he looks like Navin R. Johnson from The Jerk on anabolic steroids. Either one of those guys fit with this guy. So this guy's some sort of cyborg from the future. That's why I call him the man of tomorrow. He's traveled from the future to the past, and from the past to the future. Another thing that I think is interesting about Pulsar is Pulsar predates the Terminator and Skynet. And maybe Pulsar was the first Terminator. Maybe that symbol that's on Pulsar's suit or uniform, that lightning bolt, that red, white, and blue, or red, white, and yellow, or red, yellow, and blue. I'm not really sure what the original color was, because all of mine are kind of faded to the yellow, but maybe that's Skynet. I don't know. Anyway, this is Pulsar, the Ultimate Man of Adventure, produced by Kenner. It's one of my favorite figures. He doesn't have a lot of articulation. Let's take his shirt off so you can see the imprint on the back. Excuse me. There's the button that you push that pumps his chest. Mattel Incorporated, 1976, USA. So this guy's a hard plastic. Doesn't have much articulation. The arms just go up and down. The elbows move. There's nothing on the wrist. The waist does not turn. Legs move up and down. Knees move up and down. And no articulation on the feet. Which makes, you can see how these boots probably work. I think you can, maybe understand they're kind of hinged. And these boots are one of the parts of this figure that are sometimes hard to find and complete because these boots broke. So, I don't know, I guess that's about it for this video. This ran a little bit long. I meant for it just to be a quick introduction to Pulsar, because I feel like Pulsar could make more videos. But I hope you enjoyed the video, this little introduction to who Pulsar, Ultimate Man of Adventure, or Pulsar, the Man of Tomorrow is. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, like, share, and subscribe, and have a great day.